Hello students, before we get into today's class, I wish to recall what we learnt in chapter 2. We are learning relations and functions. A quick recap I wish to do because it been a 2-3 days gap. So I thought I'll recall first what we learnt in this chapter. So to start with, we have learnt what is meant by Cartesian product of two sets, right? Cartesian product of sets we have learnt, which is nothing but the set of all ordered pairs. Then we learned how we can express the Cartesian product and what is n of a cross b. If n of a is p and n of b is q, n of a cross b is pq. And after Cartesian product, we have solved a few problems and then we learned what is meant by relation. What is meant by relation? A relation is a subset of Cartesian product. Any subset of Cartesian product, we will call it as a relation, and we will define from a set to another set or else a set on itself, right? So what is a relation? Relation is a subset of a Cartesian product. Then we have seen how we can express the relation between two sets diagrammatically and also algebraically, right? And we have seen different definitions, what is meant by domain, what is meant by codomain, what is range, image, pre-image, everything we have learnt. And we have seen how many number of relations two sets can have. It is nothing but the number of subsets of A cross B. How many subsets a set can have? 2 power n. Therefore, how many subsets A cross B can have? 2 power pq. If p is the number of elements in the set A and q is the number of elements in the set B. This is what we learned, right? Then we have solved a few more problems under relations. Then we learned what is meant by function. What is meant by a function? A relation is called a function under certain conditions. What are all those conditions? Every element of set A has one and only one image in set B. Then that particular relation we will call it as a function, right? And I told you every element, none of the element in the domain should be left free without any image. One condition. Second condition is each element in the domain should be mapped to a unique element in the codomain. It should not have two images, right? These two conditions, if the relation satisfy, it will become a function. And we have seen a few types of functions, few standard functions and their graphs. Identity function means mapping to itself, and we have seen how the graph is going to be. And we have learnt what is constant function, polynomial function. Constant function we have seen all the elements mapping to a particular constant. Polynomial function, rational functions, then modulus function. This is very important. What is meant by modulus function? F of x equals to mod x. If the element is greater than or equal to 0, the value will be the same element. If the value is less than 0, it will be negative of that, which means we will get a positive value. Negative of negative will become positive. So any number under modulus value, we will get the positive number as the answer. For that case only we will use that modulus symbol, right? Then we learned what is signum function and its graph. Then greatest integer function. Greatest integer means what we will do when we have a decimal number, the least whole number we will take. Now see, the greatest integer of minus 2.3 will be minus 2. Greatest integer we will take, right? So these are all the things we learned. And then we have learned what is algebra of real functions, addition of two real functions, subtraction of two real functions. Those are nothing but the sum of the functions actually. F plus g of x is a function. How you will define this? This is nothing but f of x plus g of x. Similarly, f minus g of x is nothing but f of x minus g of x. Then if you multiply with a scalar, which means a constant, then it will become alpha into f of x. Then multiplication of two real functions, f g of x is equals to f of x into g of x. This we will also call it as pointwise multiplication. Then we have learnt quotient of two real functions. F by g of x is nothing but f of x divided by g of x, provided the denominator is not equal to 0. And then we have solved problems based on functions. More importantly, finding the domain and range of the given function. This is very important. How to find the domain and range? Domain of the function, you have to concentrate about the x values. So the defined function you should check whether is it applicable for the entire real numbers or is it restricted for only few values. You have to examine to get your domain. Alright, I repeat, how will you find the domain of a function? You have to check the defined function, whether this function is suitable for entire real number system or it is valid only for a particular set of values, or whether any particular value if we remove from real number system, will the function be applicable for the remaining values of real number system. In such a way you have to examine and you have to finalize your domain. And what will be the range? The values of the function. What are all the answers you will get after applying the values from the domain. You have to examine in that way, and then you have to fix up your range. Alright, and we have solved many problems of this kind. How you should proceed if a function is defined inside square root, if it is inside modulus, and we have seen how to find the range also. And how will you find your range? You have to start the problem in such a way where if x is greater than 0, from that you have to start and try to obtain the given function, defined function, so that you can arrive at the range. Right, that's how you have to proceed the problem to get your range. So these are all the things we have learnt in this chapter. So at last we started solving miscellaneous exercise. In that we completed till question number 4, I believe. So let us continue with the miscellaneous exercise in today's class. Now let us see how we can solve the fourth problem. We completed till third problem, right? So find the domain and range of the real function f of x is equals to square root of x minus 1. As I told you, you have to examine to get your domain, examine the function. Is this function is valid for all the values of x taken from the real number system? You have to check. See what will happen, the function is inside square root. Inside square root. Square root is valid as of now since you are dealing with real functions. Only positive numbers square root is available, right? The negative numbers square root will be a complex number. It is not a real number. As I told earlier, the complex number system you will be learning in your higher studies. So when you have a negative number inside the square root, its square root, the value is not a real number. So our aim is to get a positive number inside the square root. So when we will get a positive number? Only if the values of x are starts from 1 and only if they are greater than 1. Starts from 1 and it should be greater than 1. In the sense it should be positive number. If I take a negative number, what will happen? If I am going to take the value of x as 0, if x is equal to 0, what will happen to this value? Square root of 0 minus 1, which is root of minus 1. So I am getting a negative number inside the square root. Similarly, if I take negative value, x is equals to minus 1, what will happen? Minus 1, it will become square root of minus 2. So the x can take only values from 1 till infinity. If it is going to be any positive number greater than 1, if I subtract, I am going to get only a positive value here, right? So the domain of f will be closed at 1, the interval 1 comma infinity, whereas it is closed at 1 and open at infinity. Why it is closed at 1? We are going to start the values only from 1 where we can include 1 also. That's why it is closed at 1. Hope you understood. If we take 0 or less than 0, we are going to get a negative value where negative value is not defined here. Okay, because it is a real function. Therefore, the domain should be interval 1 comma infinity where it is closed at 1 and open at infinity. Alright. Now, how we can find our range now? Since, see, it is a real function f of x is equals to square root of x minus 1. From this, we have arrived at a conclusion that the value of x should be greater than or equal to 1. Yes, just now we have seen it should be greater than or equal to 1. So, from this, try to arrive at your function. X is greater than or equal to 1, but we need x minus 1. So, subtract 1 on both sides. So x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. 1 minus 1, 0. Now we need a square root. So take square root on both sides. So square root of x minus 1 is also greater than or equal to 0. Therefore the range is 0 comma infinity, interval 0 comma infinity, where it can be greater than or equal to 0. When you have equal to, it should be closed interval, then open at infinity. So the range of f is 0 comma infinity. Alright, this how only you have to proceed your problem. Hope you understood. Let us move on to the next question. Fifth question, if you see, find the domain and range of the real function f defined by f of x is equals to modulus of x minus 1. We have done problems of this kind, so I am leaving it to you. This is homework. Now let us do the sixth problem. Let function f is defined from R to R. Determine the range of f. So let us see how we can solve this. See, here the function is given like this as an ordered pair. So don't get confused. How the values will be in an ordered pair, how we will write? We will write the first element from the first set. In the sense, the element from the domain we will write at the first element of the ordered pair, and to which it maps, that is the element in the codomain or else the range, as the second element of the ordered pair. That's how only we will write. So far in the problem, directly they have given f of x is equals to x square by 1 plus x square. In this problem, they have given you as a ordered pair. But what is the function here? F of x is equals to x square plus x square divided by 1 plus x square is the function defined from R to R. Right? Now they asked you to find the range. As I told you, proceed from the element x and try to arrive at the function, so that you will get some conclusions or ideas about the functional values, so that from that you can arrive at the range. Right? So here x is a real number, so x belongs to R, and we need x square. So find x square. Since x is a real number, its square going to be greater than or equal to 0 only. So x square is greater than or equal to 0. And also we need 1 by x, 1 plus x square. So 1 plus x square, what will happen? I am adding 1 to both sides. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So 1 plus x square is always greater than or equal to 1. Right? And here we are dealing a rational function. So we have to analyze not numerator and denominator separately. As a fraction also we have to analyze. Then only we can arrive at a conclusion about the functional values. Right? So we are going to now separately numerator should be greater than or equal to 0 and the denominator should be greater than or equal to 1. But as a fraction, how the values are going to be, that we need to analyze. So that's what we are going to check now. We are checking the denominator and the numerator now. If you see the denominator, it is 1 plus x square. 1 plus x square is greater than x square. Right? Therefore, x square divided by 1 plus x square will be greater than or equal to 0, but it should be less than 1. Why? Can you analyze this? Why this statement is being made? If the denominator is more than the numerator, how the values will be? If the denominator is more than the numerator, how the values will be? Obviously, it will be less than 1. Yes or no? Take some example. I am going to divide 3 by 5. Here the denominator is more than the numerator. Obviously, when you are dividing, what you will write? 0 point. Yes, we will add one decimal. We will put one decimal and we will add 0. Then only we will start our division. Then obviously it will be less than 1. Right? Whatever number is going to be. If the numerator is less than the denominator, the answer is going to be less than 1. Answer is going to be less than 1. So the same argument here. Here the denominator is more than the numerator. Therefore the values are going to be less than 1 only. Therefore it is open at 1. But what will be the starting point here? It can be greater than or equal to 0. When you will get equal to 0? Is there any possibilities for it to become equal to 0? Yes, if x is 0, if we take x as a real number system only, right? If we take x as 0, x square will be 0. So 0 divided by 1 plus 0, again 1. 0 divided by 1 is 0 only. So there are possibilities for this functional value to become 0. Therefore, it should be either 0 or more than 0, but it should be less than 1 of sure, because the denominator is greater than the numerator, right? Appo how your range will be? Closed at 0, open at 1. So 0 comma 1 is your range. So this how only you have to analyze the problem step by step, and then you should give your conclusion, right? Hope you understood. Let us move on to the next question. Next problem is based on the algebra of functions. See, they have given two functions f and g defined from R to R such that f of x is x plus 1, g of x is 2x minus 3. They asked you to find f plus g, f minus g and f by g. What is f plus g of x? It is nothing but f of x plus g of x. That is what the definition, right? We have learned. What is f of x? F of x is given in the question. Plus what is g of x, which is also given in the question. Then add the like terms. X plus 2x is 3x. 1 minus 3 is minus 2. So this is what f plus g of x. Similarly, you can do the remaining things. See, f minus g of x is f of x minus g of x. Whenever you have negative sign, be careful. Kindly write the things inside the braces and then remove it step by step so that you can avoid mistake, right? But the procedure is same. Then if you subtract, you will get the answer. Similarly, f by g of x is f of x divided by g of x. So we have divided, but we have to say one constraint, right? What is that constraint? The denominator should not be equal to 0. So 2x minus 3 should not be equal to 0, or 2x should not be equal to 3. Bring this 3 to the other side, which implies x should not be equal to 3 by 2. Right? So this is f by g of x. These are all very simple problems. Hope you can do it, right? Now let us move on to the next question. See the next question, it's little interesting. Let f is equals to the set of all ordered pairs they have given be a function from z to z. What is that? Integers, such that f of x is equals to ax plus b. For some integer a and b, determine a and b. They have given you the domain and the range of a function, but they didn't define the function. They asked you to define the function in terms of ax plus b. Alright, they asked you to find what is a, what is b. This is also quite simple and easier. What we can do is, from the ordered pairs, what we understand, 1 is mapped to 1, 2 is mapped to 3, 0 is mapped to minus 1 and minus 1 is mapped to minus 3 under the function f. What does it mean? In the functional value, in the place of x, if I substitute the first element of the ordered pair, I will get second element as my answer. That's what the meaning of the ordered pairs, right? I repeat, if I substitute the first element of the ordered pair in the function defined in the place of x, I will get the second element of the ordered pair as my answer, right? That is what the meaning behind the ordered pairs. Then only I will map 1 to 1. 1 in the domain and 1 in the codomain I will map. When will I map? When I substitute this value for x under the function, I should get this value as my answer, right? That's what the meaning behind it. So the same application we are going to do it here. See what we did for 1 comma 1. First I have taken the first value for 1 comma. It is not necessary you should take these two. Any two values you can take, right? Now for 1 comma 1 I am going to substitute x is equals to 1. So x is equals to 1, if I put, what will happen? A into 1 plus b. So 1 is equals to a plus b. You got one equation in terms of a and b. Similarly, take some other ordered pair. It is not necessary you should take the second one. You can take third or fourth as you wish. So I have taken the second one. So which means in the place of x I should put 2. Right? So f of 2 is equals to a into 2 plus b. Again I got an equation in terms of a and b. Once you arrive at two equations in terms of a and b, you can very well solve and find out what is the value of a and what is the value of b by elimination method, right? See, a plus b equal to 1, 2a plus b equal to 3. So I subtracted both the equation by changing the sign of the second equation. So minus 2a plus a will become minus a, minus 3 plus 1 will become minus 2. So the value of a is 2. Substituting the value of a in any one of the above two equations, we will get what is the value of b. right? Thus for a is equals to 2 and b equal to 1 minus 1, the function f of x is defined. Therefore what is your function now? Therefore f of x is equals to what? Ax plus b. So 2x minus 1 is your function, right? Yes. Now let us see the next problem. See the next question, it is also quite interesting. They have given you a relation. They have given you a relation from n to n such that the set of all a comma b where a b belongs to n and a is equals to b square. And they asked you to say whether the following are true. They have given you 3 conditions and they asked you to justify your answer. So before getting into that, let us analyze the function, let us analyze the relation what is all about. Both a and b are in natural numbers, they belong to n. So how the relation, what are all the elements will be there in this relation a comma b in such a way a is equals to b square. A equal to what? B square. Suppose if I am going to take b equal to 1, then what will, because the natural number starts from 1 only, right? If suppose I am going to take b equal to 1, what is b square? 1. B square is nothing but a. So my first ordered pair will be 1 comma a value only you should write 1 comma 1. Now if suppose I am going to take b equals to 2, then what is your b square? B square is 4, which is your a. So your second ordered pair is a comma b, 4 comma 2 is your second ordered pair. Got it? Likewise it goes on. So your third ordered pair will be, here will be 3, here will be 9. Then your next ordered pair will be 4 comma 16. Here 25 comma 5, or else the square root of this. These are all the elements which lie in the relation R. Right? These are all the elements of the relation R. Right? Now they have given you few conditions and they asked you to tell whether are they true or not. Now see, your first statement is ordered pair a comma a belongs to R for all a belongs to n. Understand? For all a belongs to n. Whatever value you choose in a, then a comma a belongs to the relation nu solranga. Is it true or not? If you check with the example what we did, 1 comma 1 belongs to R, but 2 comma 2 does not belong to R, right? 3 comma 3 does not belong to R, 4 comma 4 does not belong to R. Therefore this statement is false. This is not true for all values of for all values of a which you choose from n. It is true for only one value. Also they asked you to justify your answer in each case. So how will you justify? You have to show an example like this. You can write if b is equals to 2, then b square is 4. Therefore your ordered pair will become 4 comma 2. Now this is not a comma a. Therefore for all a belongs to natural number, a comma a does not belong to R. Therefore the given statement is not true. Like that you can justify your answer. If you see the next question, a comma b belongs to R implies b comma a also belongs to R. Is it true or not? What does they mean? If 4 comma 2 belongs to R, they mean 2 comma 4 is also belongs to R. Is it true? Will it be true? Because the relation here defined is the square of that particular natural number. Right? So how mutually they will be squares of each other? That cannot happen, right? So 4 comma 2 is there in the relation. Is there any possibility for 2 comma 4 to be available in the relation? No, not at all. Therefore again this is also not true. Again you have to justify with the example. You can take any example and you can justify. If you see the third one, a comma b belongs to R, b comma c belongs to R, which imply a c belongs to R. Is it possible again? See, you can take one example, a comma b. Suppose if I am going to take 4 comma 2, which is there in the relation. Then 2 comma some number which is there in the relation implies a comma c is also in the relation. Now let us take this example. See, if I am going to take 16 comma 4 is my A comma B, and my B comma C as 4 comma 2. See, this B has been my first element, right? I have taken two ordered pairs. Will it imply A comma C 16 comma 2 will belong to the relation? No. This is not possible, because this how the relation is defined. The first element is the square of the second element. So is 16 is the square of 2? No, this is not true, right? It is not necessary for A comma B belongs to R and B comma C belongs to R. It is not necessary to imply A comma C belongs to R, right? So you can give one example like this and you can state that this statement is also not true. Likewise, you can justify your answer for this relation, right? Hope you understood. Let us move on to the next question. See the 10th question. They have given you set A, set B and a function, and they asked you to check whether the following are true. First one is f is a relation from A to B and f is a function from A to B. Now, how will you say whether the defined thing is a relation? A relation, when it will become a relation, when it is a subset of the Cartesian product. When f becomes a subset of the Cartesian product of A and B, it is a relation. When that f will become a function, that relation will become a function under two conditions. One is each and every element of the domain should have a image, and that image should be the unique image, right? It should have a unique image. If those conditions are satisfied, that relation will become a function. Now let us check for the given f whether these conditions are satisfied, so that we can justify our answer. Now let us see how we can do. First, to check whether it is a relation or not, let us list out the Cartesian product of A cross B. You know how to write it, right? The ordered pairs. What are all the things it will come under? 1 comma 1, 1 comma 5, 1 comma 9, 1 comma 11, 1 comma 15, 1 comma 16. Likewise, you have to write the cross product with each and every element. How many elements this A cross B will have now? Now n of A is 1, 2, 3, 4. N of B is 6. So 4 6 are 24. So n of A cross B will have 24 elements. 24 ordered pairs you have to list out here, right? After listing out, you can check whether this 1 comma 5 is there. Yes, 1 comma 5 is there. Likewise, we can check. See, I have listed out all the ordered pairs. Now let us check whether each and every ordered pair is there in A cross B. 1 comma 5 is there. 2 comma 9 is also there. 3 comma 1. 4 comma 5. Then 2 comma 11. Yes, all the elements of F are there in A cross B. Therefore, F is a subset of A cross B. Hence, F is a relation from A to B. That's how we justified our answer. Your next question is to check whether it is a function or not. That we can justify by using an arrow diagram. Draw an arrow diagram. Now this is your A and this is your B. What are all the elements here? 1, 2, 3, 4. And here 1, 5, 9, 11, 15, 16. Right? Now 1 comma 5. So 1 is mapped to 5. 2 is mapped to 9. 3 is mapped to 1 again. 1 is mapped to 5. 2 is mapped to 9. 3 is mapped to 1. Then 4 is mapped to 5 again, right? 4 is mapped to 5. Then 2 is mapped to 11. This 2 is mapped to 11. Now if you analyze this arrow diagram, each and every element in the domain has an image. But if you see, the element 2 has two images. One is 9 and another one is 11. Therefore, it is not a function, because by the definition of a function, it should have a unique image. So you can write since the element 2 has 2 images, the given relation is not a function, right? This is how only you have to justify your answer. Hope you understood. Let us see the next question. F is a subset of Z cross Z such that F is equal to the set of all ordered pairs AB, A plus B, where A and B are integers. We have to justify whether F is a function from Z to Z. As we discussed in the previous problem, we have to check the uniqueness of the function, whether each and every element of the domain is mapped to a unique element in the codomain or not. That we have to check. So let us analyze the definition of the function, where A and B are integers. If you take any two elements, for example, if I am going to take 2 and 3, then how the function is defined? This 2 AB means 2 into 3, 2 plus 3, which means 6, 5. Therefore, 6 is mapped to 5. This is what the definition, right? Now 6 is mapped to 5. There is no role for 2 and 3 here. We have started with 2 and 3, but the function is defined in such a way 6 will map to 5. That is, the product of those two elements will be mapped to the sum of those two elements. This is what the function, right? But when you analyze it, here A and B belongs to Z. Z is set of all integers. Integers will include both negative and positive numbers, right? So when we talk about product, if we multiply negative numbers, two negative numbers, it will become positive. So there are possibilities for a element in the domain to have two different codomains, two different ranges in the codomain, right? Now let us check. Now I am going to take -2 and -3. What will happen now? -2 into -3, -2 plus of -3, which is equals to, what is -2 into -3? Minus into minus, it will become plus. 2 3s are 6 again. Here -2 -3 will become -5. Now if you see these two things, 6 also mapped to 5. Here 6 also mapped to -5, right? So when you draw an arrow diagram, 6 is there in the domain and 5 and -5 are there in the codomain, where the 6 is mapped to both 5 and -5. Therefore, it is not a function. Therefore, it is not a function. So, how will you write the answer for this? Let us take one example. Let us assume A equals to 2, B equals to 3. Similarly, A equal to -2, A equal to -3. We got like this. Therefore, it is not a function. Therefore, there are possibilities. You have to write. Therefore, there are possibilities for an element in a domain to have two images in the codomain, and hence it is not a function. Like that, you have to justify your answer. Right? Hope you understood. Let us move on to the last problem of the exercise. This is very easy problem. Hope you can do it by yourself, but still I'll give you the gist what you should do. Here the set A, they have given you few elements. The function is defined from A to n, the natural number such that f of n is highest prime factor of n. They asked you to find the range of f. So before finding out the highest prime factor, first list out all the factors of that number so that it will be easy for you. So what is factor of 9? 1, 3, 9. Factors of 10? 1, 2, 5, 10. Like that you can list out. You know what is meant by factor, right? So like that you have to list out all the factors. Then the function is defined in such a way it is the highest prime factor. So which is the highest prime factor here? 1 is neither prime nor composite, so you should not take 1 at all. And see the remaining numbers, 3 and 9. Is 9 a prime number? No. 3 is the only prime number, therefore 3 is the highest factor, prime factor of 9. Similarly in 10, which is the highest prime numbers are 2 and 5. Out of 2 and 5, which is greatest? 5. So 5 is the greatest prime factor. Here 1 and 11, so only 11. Here 2, 3 are the prime numbers. Out of these, which is the greatest prime number? 3. then here 13 is the only prime number. Therefore, f of 9 will be 3, then f of 10 will be 5, f of 11 will be 11, f of 12 will be 3, and f of 13 will be 13. Therefore, range of f is equals to 3, 5, 11 and 13. Range can repeat, right? And repeating elements, it is not necessary to mention. So that's how we found the range of f, right? Thus we completed miscellaneous exercise of chapter 2, relations and functions. So as I told you, tomorrow you will be writing test on the entire chapter. So do practice. So complete miscellaneous exercise question number 5, 9 and 11 and practice the entire chapter for tomorrow's weekly test. And if you have any doubts, just contact me, I'll explain you. Thank you, students.